How are you? You never know. Hi. How are you? Hi. Good. Rich, how are you? I'm good.
Please rise for silent reflection and pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cynthia?
Here.
Mr. Diver?
Here.
Mrs. King?
Here.
Mr. McLean?
Here.
Mr. Schuler?
Here.
Mr. Borbach? Mayor McKenna?
Here. Pursuant to the requirements of the New Jersey Open Public Meeting Act, notice of this meeting was included in the annual meeting notice posted on the borough website and in the municipal building, and published as a legal notice in the Co-Star newspaper. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
And a second?
I'll second.
And a roll call.
Mrs. Cynthia?
Yes.
Mr. Diver?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
No presentations at this time. I need a motion to open a public hearing for ordinance number 12-2012.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Anyone would like to speak on ordinance number 12-2012? May step forward, give your name and address.
Mayor, you just had a motion in a second. You need a vote to open it up.
Do you want to do just a voice vote or you want to roll call?
Pardon me?
Roll
Roll call, yes.
Mrs. Cynthia?
Yes.
Mr. Diver?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Anyone would like to speak on ordinance number 12-2012? Just step forward, give your name and address. Capital ordinance of the Borough of Spring Lake Heights, or improvements.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We need another roll call for the ordinance itself.
Yes. I guess first we need a motion.
A motion in a second to.
I'll make that motion to
I'll second it.
approve the ordinance number 12.
Any questions? Roll call, Jay.
Mrs. Cynthia?
Yes.
Mr. Diver?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Thank you. First voice of the public. You may speak on any item, any agenda item you like. Again, just step forward and...
Am I? Which, hoping for the results of your discussion. I had applied for, asked for a refund on my water and sewer bill, which was inadvertently charged for more than 10 years. It was supposed to be addressed at the last meeting. Fortunately, the last meeting wasn't posted on the calendar, on your online calendar. So, I guess I don't say anything till you decide. Or how does this work?
Sorry,
Do a refund of $500.
that's for utility?
Yeah.
That's on discussion item, yes.
No, that's why.
What you're asking about?
No, if I should come on that.
Oh, I see.
Oh, the voice of the public.
On the voice of the public. You may speak on it, yes.
Sure.
You may speak on it, yes.
Well, I think it's pretty clear whatever agreement that was made with the previous owner, not with me. It was erroneously charged to me. When it wasn't changed when I bought the house, it certainly should have stopped being charged. When I went for a variance and it was denied, I mean, you were taking my money but restricting me from doing anything. Either I paid the money and should have gotten the variance, and it wasn't an abandoned property, or it was looked at as an abandoned, and I shouldn't have been subject to a water charge. See what I'm saying? There were 2 dwellings on my property. The second dwelling had its own water hookup.
Was it like
It was
a
a
apartment
$50
rental? Was it like a rental unit, or I'm trying to
Well, I
understand.
thought it was a rental unit, but
That was your understanding when you purchased the
when
property?
I went and I was charged a $50 surcharge to keep the pipe,
Connected.
not connected. When I went for a variance, they said it wasn't a rental property. It was abandoned property, which meant I never should have been charged the $50. And I shouldn't even continue to be charged until the structure came down 10 years later. So I was charged a $50 annual surcharge on a structure that you wouldn't let me turn on the water anyway. So, I mean, it was an error made way back when. And if it was some kind of contract, I would have had deed restrictions, or it was a contract with a previous owner, so it should have ended when I bought the house.
And can I ask, what was the variance you were seeking? What were you trying to do with the property?
To renovate the second unit so I could rent it. And they said it was abandoned.
I'm not sure I understand that. If it's on your property,
Well, it was a technical term that was given by the Board of Adjustments.
I think that may relate to, when you're talking about a non-conforming use in properties that have 2 structures
Right.
on them,
that's what
are
I'm
generally, they predate the zoning and they're non-conforming uses, and the property can still continue to be used for those 2 uses. They're grandfathered in a sense until one of the structures is removed or its use is discontinued. And apparently the board at that time had felt that the use of that second building had been discontinued, and so it lost its grandfathered status. Basically, that's what I'm interpreting from what Ms. Stater is saying. And so
I
she was
think
looking for a
that-
variance to continue to use it as a second living structure on the
And
property.
see, I thought it wasn't considered abandoned because of this $50 charge. Once they decided that I couldn't do anything, I should have been continued to be charged. And it was charged until I knocked down both that in my primary residence.
When did you knock down the house?
the unit, the second unit.
The second
you
unit.
knocked down.
They were knocked down simultaneously in September of 2007 or 8. So, from May of '97, when I bought the house with this non-conforming structure, I was paying to keep the service on. And my argument with the Board of Adjustments was, if I'm paying for the service, you can't consider it abandoned or, non-usable. It's either abandoned or it isn't. It was deemed abandoned, and I never should have been charged.
I know under the law, when it relates to the issue of abandonment of a non-conforming use, typically there's supposed to be some intention to abandon the prior grandfathered use shown by the property owner, not just a mere non-use of it. But I'm not going to second guess what the board did back then, but apparently
Well,
they came to
I
the
didn't-
determination that it had been abandoned.
I didn't make the decision, the town did. I mean, I my only action was to renovate and go before the Board of Adjustments. And so that's what I did.
Can I make a suggestion? I mean, I just learned about this Friday. You may be doing for 15 years, but I learned about it Friday when I opened my packet.
Well, I did bring it up 2 council meetings ago. And 3
Right,
council meetings
but we got your letter.
in April.
I didn't see your letter. And then apparently there was some other work that was done. I just think we need a little more time. I don't know how the rest of the council feels, but I just wouldn't mind having a little more time to really research it. To be fair, you know, I want to be fair to you and make sure that, you know.
No, I realize that. But to be fair, Mr. Delaney said that the delay since April was because of all the research that went into it. So, I mean, I understand that you're saying you just got it Friday. But Mr. Delaney can confirm that he told, you know, he's had it since April and has told me. And actually, the council meeting previous to that, I had a bill, and it was right after the changes, and I did have a $50 credit. And so before the meeting, I spoke with Mr. Delaney, and I said, oh, they might, you know, I'm not going to burn anyone if this has already been decided. It looks like I got a credit. And he said, oh, yes, we're working on it. You know, they're going to help. And then I had to check on something else with the borough. When I called, I was told that no, it wasn't that I was getting credited for the money. It was a $50 credit that they give to disabled people. So, I mean, who should I believe? You or Mr. Delaney?
Well, I think you can believe both of us. I'm just saying I'm really not
Well,
familiar. I would like to see all of this myself. I'm really just not comfortable.
but he's, no, so, somebody, I mean, he told me you've all gotten
I got it.
seen them previous to Friday. When I,
No.
so, do you have an
That's a mistake.
explanation?
Yeah, I don't believe that I had indicated that. What I indicated to you in our previous discussion was that we were still doing the research. And as you can see, this goes back to 1999. So we had to go down in the basement and dig through a substantial amount of records. My indication to you was that we were still working on it and that it would be presented to the mayor and council, which was done. I had mentioned it at the meeting, not the last meeting, the meeting that you appeared at about a month ago, and I indicated that I would be forwarding that information to the council.
And Mr. Mayor said, well, I have an explanation at the next meeting. And that meeting was the last meeting, and it was not listed on the calendar online. So now we're 2 meetings away.
And I understand the concern about the delay, but again, in fairness, we're talking about a refund request that goes back 15 years, and for a period that's at least 7 years ago. So, I'm sorry, that's at least 5 years ago. It looks like the last time you were charged for this was in 2008, and we gathered that information. I provided to the council both your letter together with a summary of the charges, as well as the information from our ordinance that outlines the $25 charge that's applied for both water and sewer for inactive units or vacant units.
All right, so when
Wait,
can I get a commitment to get an
Commitment?
answer of this stuff? Because you committed to answering it 2 weeks
well,
ago.
I believe the council would like to just do a little more research on it. I think we can have an answer probably next meeting for you. Which would be the,
I mean, you know, it's to the point where this has gone on since April.
So,
I mean,
Actually, it's gone on since 1998. I think we need to, again, I'm not trying, we want to be fair to you, but at the same time, I think we just need to look at everything and
Well,
see
I
what
guess-
actually, was going on here. And I'd like to know what actually occurred.
My question to each of you individually, if you had waited since April, and it's now mid-October, would you be frustrated?
Actually, I think you've been waiting longer than that, but I mean, I don't see what 2 weeks is going to hurt at this point.
Because it keeps dragging on.
Well, again, many of us here saw this for the first time Friday, so we're not trying to drag it on. We're just trying to look at it reasonably and come to, a conclusion.
Should I have
And being fair to you.
Should I have bypassed the borough administrator?
No.
And written
No,
directly?
listen, the borough administrator did a lot of research. Again, we received this Friday, so I'm just asking for a little time to really look at it and look into it and get some answers, that's all. I don't think that harms anything. I think it's fair. I mean, just let us, the council members just received it, so why not
All
allow
right,
that?
and that's why I said, can I get a commitment? Tell me what,
I'd say probably by the next meeting, or even if we can't get the answers, certainly by November, what is it, the first meeting in November. We should certainly have an answer within the month.
next meeting is October
22nd.
22nd.
Right.
so no one's willing to commit, is the
But we'll-
problem.
No, I didn't,
Megan,
it's not that no one's willing to commit. I mean, I think we're addressing the issue as we're sitting here speaking. We're just trying to get a reasonable handle on it, and, I mean, off the top of my head, I mean, for a 15-year-old case, I think I'd like to see more.
Well, do you have any feelings on it? And you're the only one who's speaking.
This is the first time I've seen it. I'd like more information. And it goes back to 1998.
But no,
Thank you. And we will get back to you.
we will solve it for you, Mr. Peter. We will take care of it. Anyone else like to speak?
Make a motion to close the first voice of the public.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now for the discussion items. Does anyone have anything to add?
No.
On the best practice worksheet, okay, now I read through that. Is there anything you need?
There's no action to be taken by the council, but this information was distributed, I believe, at our last meeting, but I indicated we would list it on the agenda in case there were any questions. This is annually prepared by the CFO. It outlines various best practices that are identified by the State Division of Local Government Services. One of the, what I would identify as flaws in the system is that the identification of the best practices comes at the time that the worksheet needs to be completed. And it has been, there's ongoing discussion among officials throughout the state that if these are in fact best practices, that they should be noted and give municipalities the opportunity to actually implement them. Some of these are implemented prospectively, but most of these are identified as items that should be in place currently. So they provide us with a benchmark of items to implement in the course of the next year.
So at 90% of them are being implemented, is that correct?
That's correct. And there's a point structure that's identified with this, and then the final, I believe, 5 or 10% of our state aid is contingent upon the results of this worksheet.
I didn't have any questions about the best practice.
No.
Good. Fourth, Mayor and Council reports. Councilman McLean.
Nothing this time.
Councilwoman Cindy. Councilwoman King.
Nothing.
Councilman Diver.
Nothing at this time.
And Councilman Schuler.
The Little League field upgrade, building upgrade is completed. It's been completed.
Right here, Jim.
The Little League,
Oh, Little League.
building's completed. The painting at the community center, the rain's hurting us. We got it three-quarters done, and we're just waiting for a little break in the weather.
They got 3/4 of the middle.
That's it.
All right, thank you, Jim. No new business at this time. Ordinance introductions. Resolutions. Resolution R 2012-164.
Mayor, this is authorizing the release of the designated escrow deposit. There is one, and as indicated, the borough engineer has provided a letter recommending that the escrow be released for this project.
We have a motion and second on that, please.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any questions? A roll call, Jim.
Mrs. Cynthia?
Yes.
Mr. Diver?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
A motion to move bills to Finance Committee.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second.
Any questions? A roll call, Jim.
Mrs. Cynthia?
Yes.
Mr. Diver?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Thank you. Resolution R 2012-165, approving payment claims for the October 4th, 2012 bill list. A
I'll
motion.
make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cynthia?
Yes.
Mr. Diver?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Consent resolution R 2012-166. It just looks like one raffle license. Need a motion and a second.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any questions? Roll call.
Mrs. Cynthia?
Yes.
Mr. Diver?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Second voice of the public. May come up, speak on anything you like. Seeing no hands, I need a motion to close it, please.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Need a motion to approve the minutes for June 22nd, I'm sorry, June 25th, 2012. This is the executive session. And the regular session here as well?
Yes, Mayor, it includes both.
Is that June 22nd, 5th?
June 25th.
Okay. Motion for the executive and regular session.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second it.
Any questions? Roll call, check.
Mrs. Cynthia?
Abstain?
Mr. Diver?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
I wasn't present for the entire executive session, so I was all abstaining.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
We are.